The son of the god of war is one thing. The son of Kratos, well, you might as well put the weight of the entire 9 realms on his shoulders. Atreus, boy, whatever other name old Triple H here has up his sleeve, he's got the entirety of Ragnarok to figure out how to live up to the aforementioned title. Let's give it a go. Spoiler alert, this challenge contains spoilers. I cannot conceive a possible solution to avoid talking about what's actually going down without talking about what's actually going down. Things need to make sense, context is required, otherwise shit gets confusing, and I'm not about to read some brain dead comment down there asking why I spoiled a certain event happening when they haven't gone through the game themselves yet. If you haven't played the game and got the cash, go buy it. If you haven't played the game and don't got the cash, well, I was right where you are when God of War PS4 came out a few years ago. My boy has grown up since we last saw him, his height is closer to mine, his voice will hopefully never be like mine, and Freya quite quickly attempted to enact her revenge via castration, decapitation, and murder, all in no particular order. Supposedly near-death experiences bring people closer together. Somehow I don't think this is what they mean though. While the boy was busy petting the dog, I suppose it's as good a time as any to mention that this is my first playthrough of Ragnarok. Everything you see from this point on was me going in completely blind. Don't ask questions you aren't prepared to handle the answers to. Even I'm not fully sure why I did this challenge yet, just seemed like a fun idea. I figured this challenge would officially start when the boy actually joins the party. Nobody told me it doesn't happen until roughly 45 minutes into the gameplay. We fought a bear named Bjorn, it turned out to be my boy, Kratos was very apologetic and guilt-ridden, and everything was now fine. Atreus wanted answers to questions he had and the ability to be able to prove himself, so I let him prove himself. I just wish this didn't feel like 1998 Pokemon level grinding. These fights are a testament to patience and willpower alone, but Atreus, should I be ashamed of the fact that the first time I saw this lad's name I read it as Atreus instead of Atreus? I still do that on occasion. Keyboard warriors unite down in the comments. Thor decided to pay a visit and we may have gotten into a heated disagreement about whether chicken or beef tacos are better. Chicken is obviously the superior meat, and we had a showdown. It's not for the faint of heart, and through no fault of my own, was the boy left behind about 40 miles back while the adults were talking. This is talking for gods in case you didn't already know. You know Thor's done some shit when he knocks you down, kills you, lets the restart checkpoint loading screen appear for a moment, only for him to goad you back to life because he wasn't satisfied enough. If you hate on this part like I've seen Twitter hate on it, you can go yourself. Thor flew away after I beat him into submission. Chicken is the superior taco. Sindri and Brock found me and helped reunite myself with the one whom my wife birthed so very little amount of years ago. While I was busy being horrified at the mere thought that somebody once had the bright idea of fusing the bodies of a horse and a human together, my son splattered her brains all over that rock. One centaur is dead, and all I got to show for it is 372 XP for boy. All things considered, that's a W. Despite spoilers being as inevitable as Thanos snapping his fingers, I won't go into too much, well, really any details about the lore, backstories, and whatever else appears during the journey, mostly just whenever I can hit or rather whenever I cannot hit I wanted to take a vacation, and shooting laser beams into the eyes of the head that's always strapped to my waist was the only possible solution. Quite a bit of the way to get to where we were headed involved letting Atreus launch some wooden sticks into the brains of these monkeys. I actually take back my previous statement, that would be offensive to monkeys. Svartalfheim was home to the dwarves, and finding one in particular would hopefully grant us the whereabouts of the god who shares the same name as the waterworks that came out of my eye sockets whenever I think about Season 8 of Game of Thrones. While exploring Nidavellir, Sindri granted an upgrade to the bow, which allows my bum-ass arrows to become not so bum-ass arrows. Let's just get this out of the way. We're not going to talk about the fact that the auto target and the fatality action are on the same button, R3. It happens several times throughout the 9 realms. I am very sorry about it. I'm secretly not, because this is f***ing God of War. We're moving on. The dwarf we were looking for gave us a fine for essentially blasphemy and carrying a head. I won't say he's completely out of line with that last one, so to quell the boy's rage, I let him blow the brains out of some dumb moron enemies who will respawn a few minutes later so he can turn their brains to mush once more. I was going to make a joke and compare this Dreki to a Komodo dragon, but again, I don't want to offend the Komodo dragon. It was at this mid-level boss fight that I realized some of the shiver brains that actually have health bars also managed to snag quick revive from the perk machine. How else can you explain the second wind this thing has? So, in the end, we had to interact with the Dreki in order to move on. I still consider this done with only boy though. Technicalities, semantics, bullshit. all the same thing. I call this segment the train ride from hell. The monkey brains got bored and wanted to eat me, and Atreus broke the break and brought calamity down upon us. I am so very proud that I can now officially call him a purveyor of chaos. We landed outside of a mine, which housed the area we needed to get to for undisclosed reasons. Several menial battles and puzzles were scattered throughout the land, and it was here that I truly realized that boy and the severed head I own, honest to God, need to shut the f up already when attempting to get through these puzzles. Be like Hollow Knight. Your character doesn't say a word, and you gotta figure out things for yourself. I love playing as Kratos, but hot damn, man, let me be a gamer.
Look on the ground. Track.
Brother, freezing it can stop the water.
There's a brazier to the left of the chest. Maybe you can light it?
I'm pleading with you, please, please, shut the hell up!
Inside the mine was a whole lot of puzzles and not a ton of combat for once, apart from what was essentially a golem that took about 3 minutes to kill. At least I now have a solid metric for how long I need to last. The optional mini-boss known as the Hateful somehow managed to check out faster than the golem did. I'm not sure whether I should be impressed or disappointed in his endurance. We found Tyr, and the first impression states that he's more of a pussy than virtually everybody I've met so far. He'd fit perfectly well in the controversial section on Reddit. I mean, seriously, this is absolutely pathetic. He's slouching away behind a 14-year-old kid while he's kicking ass. Boy, not tear of sorrow. If you ever feel useless, just remember that I exist, and the man who was at one point the god of war is now hiding behind a child. We got back to our home in the realm between realms, and while Papa Kratos was busy taking a nap, we got our first taste of ever playing boy. For once in my life, I can actually play a game normally, and it does not feel right whatsoever. So during the first bit of combat, where I'm playing as the video game protagonist, only second to the other video game protagonist, I started asking questions. Only one is relevant, however, because the other had something to do with chicken. Where has the DPS been all this time? I'm testing my willpower to not bash my head into a wall against the 3-minute golem back there, and as soon as I take control, Atreus' damage output flies through the roof. I just want to quit now. Though I can't lie, plummeting enemies to their doom and sending them to the great big Mount Olympus in the sky was copacetic and so pathetic on their part. Remember that psycho bitch from earlier who tried to kill us? Yeah, she's got issues. When you're the mother of Baldur of all people and still do this kind of thing, I start to question when exactly your brain fell out of your ears. Our next stop was Alfheim, and this place was quite depressing. Not for the fact that the light and dark elves were at civil war with each other, not even the never-ending winter that plagues this land. It's for the fact that Tyr is such a poser. Here he is, bashing on some baddies in one fight, and the very next he's just standing there twiddling his thumbs and running away. It doesn't help that he drones on and on about not being the fighter that he once was anymore. I at least know what I'm about. This fool, I guarantee, has trouble deciding whether he wants Lucky Charms or Cinnamon Toast Crunch for breakfast. I'm mad now. I was so upset that when the opportunity arose to have a laugh at an NPC's expense, you're damn right I took it. I don't even care that I broke my rule. It's trivial when their back is turned, and there's a thing called resetting to the last checkpoint if any of you get your panties in a twist. Do not even attempt to talk to me if you've played this game and didn't fling your axe back and forth between these two Twilight Stone. If you didn't, you're boring and deserve no happiness in life. Can someone please tell me how the hell Sindri just appears everywhere? I'm writing this script as I go, so I don't know the answer yet, but does anyone else find that he's kind of stalkerish? He always knows exactly where I'm going, and just so happens to be there whenever it's convenient. We found another golden prophecy, which means it was time for me to crack my knuckles, take a sip of my water, and search up how to turn off puzzle hints. What I found has since been deleted from my search history, as it was just a giant waste of time. Tyr, being the waste of viable organs that he is, just sat there crouched down analyzing a dead body for all of its leftover loot while Boy played target practice with Alva. The urge started to get to me as I so very badly wanted to pull out the Blades of Chaos and wreak havoc. My discipline won out against my desire, and Boy managed to do what I am not allowed to, provided I press the R3 button. God, this game brings me pain. We made it back home. Father and son got into a disagreement about whether paper or metal posters were better, metal obviously, and the lad woke up in a whole new area. He pulled a knife out on a girl, what a great introduction that is, and it somehow led to them bonding while climbing trees, riding on something called a yala, and ripping the throats out in my new wolf form. I gotta make a mental note to rip some throats out after transforming into a wolf if I want to get myself a date. I'm not gonna lie, the best part of this entire entire game, bar none, was when I was skipping rocks. A dude came out of the water and the rock we threw at him actually did a modicum of damage. Little details are my jam. The more use I get out of Boy, the more things die on a consistent basis. As you are all aware by this point, I find violence to be very, very fun. Stick the player and the video game protagonist inside of a labyrinth of tunnels, and you will have yourself an exterminator for anything with a bar above their head that is surely to deplete. I was so busy killing people in this cave that I might have put an arrow through my father's skull and never have realized it. This game gets weirder though. We broke into a lady's house. That's not the bad part though. The house itself was ginormagantuan. That's not the weird part though. The boss fight we got into was our companion's thick grandmother. That's not the crazy part though. All of that pales in comparison to the realization that the actual boss fight was grandma's cauldron. It didn't quite register in my head for the first bar or two, and I accidentally shot an arrow in her places. I can't say any more than that. Depending on perspective though, I feel like we were the villains in this fight. We barged in, shot at her, destroyed her stuff, refused to elaborate further, and just left. You know what? Nah, we're the good guys here. After returning home and getting into yet another disagreement with Kratos' Hurst Helmsley, the boy betrayed him and refused to fight. Getting through the 25th fight so far in front of our house was surprisingly not difficult. Probably because Dad took over and showed him how to not get hit. It was only when I took damage and got kicked in the face a few times that Boyd finally decided to do something with his life and help out. Heal Valor was now unlocked. Now I don't have to worry about dying anymore. Not like I ever did in the first place, but that's besides the point. The Valkyrie that woke up and chose violence today was Freya the Psycho, and the boy who cried bear lashed out, but Papa Kratos said no. He officially grounded him, sent him to his room, and somehow throughout all the chaos, the Psycho joined me alongside Brock, who I deemed my right-hand man. Brock is now boy, don't ask questions, it's just better not to think about it. He's boy size anyway. In the realm of Vanaheim, because Kratos committed war crimes that would make James Bond himself blush, he had some atoning to do and decided breaking a curse for this bird was the best start. Brock was a good boy replacement. He threw bombs at things, and I like blowing shit up. This lasted all of 16 minutes before he got dragged away via a rope or animal of some kind, and he was never seen again. So now we're by ourselves with a yapping bird who clearly doesn't know how to shut the f up whenever I look at a puzzle for 3 seconds trying to decipher what I actually have to do. Since Boy doesn't appear in this mission, I don't have the time nor the crayons to explain what all goes on. All you need to know is that Freya ditched her Psycho persona, and we found Boy Brock just fine. Kratos and Atreus butt heads, what else is new? He finally said the line. And now we're on our own to make up for the last hour or so without the one who's actually important. Some basic numbskulls were slaughtered in Midgard before I found a bird who called on some other birds that took me directly to Asgard. Because I'm a self-proclaimed exterminator, I took out some garbage. You think Odin or Thor will pay me for it once I actually meet them? I kinda need the money. The only way to get to them was to climb that big ass wall, so I started climbing that big ass wall. Of course, this is Asgard. Everything is at peace here and I'm a measly Earthian, which means everything is trying to kill me. It would not be a video game if everything didn't try to kill you at least 3 times. Heimdall found me at the tippy top and was half tempted to let me go. Thanks to rolling a 17 in charisma, I managed to convince him just long enough to let me live. Heimdall is kind of a prick in this game. He can't be hit and still desires to kill me. I only got saved thanks to plot armor and Odin himself telling Jaime to off. I've been reduced to an errand boy collecting pieces to a wooden mask. At least I'm on sort of good terms with Thor, and who wouldn't want him as a sidekick? That's what I figured at first until he decided it wasn't worth it and just stood there while I launched enemies into lava and or off a cliff. I suppose I should thank him as he's at least attempting to keep the integrity of the challenge alive, but he circles back later on and electrocuting anything with legs that flies or just any being in general. I stuck my hand in lava. That is a sentence that should never be conceived of, let alone spoken. Sticking Boy's hand in lava was a mistake on par with God himself thinking it was a good idea for me to exist. Such punishment for the lava thing was going on yet another quest without Boy anywhere around. Freya was with me and can be considered a pseudo replacement, but it just isn't the same. We traveled with wolves, fought ogres, turned the life switches off of anything who so much looked our way. The entire quest can be done with only Freya, although it's like eating off-brand cream betweens when you just want Oreos. Our actual destination was a spaghetti hut that housed 3 different foreign objects that I have zero desire to eat. Freya was psycho, keyword was. These three, however, belong in Arkham Asylum. It would be another long while before we got back to Boy. All you really need to know is Brock and I crafted a new weapon that'll be used to get around on occasion and maybe detonate some rocks. To make up for my failure as a gamer, here's some money. I don't really have anybody that could use this code, so input it fast if you want some months of Game Pass. Back with Boy, we're on errand duty once again to collect the final piece of the wooden mask that supposedly holds all the answers to everything. I think Odin is batshit crazy, but then again, I think half of all people in general are batshit crazy, so that ain't saying much. If you've been on the internet for more than 5 minutes, then I guarantee you're inclined to agree with me. We're paired with Thrud, and unfortunately I have to add another person to the list of souls that I want to rip the vocal cords out of. Thor was right, thinking is overrated. Seeing Thrud completely overpower Atreus in strength was very comedic and only solidifies the fact that she will be a strong dom later in life. We found a pet that would be perfect for the broken cauldron grandma from earlier and set him free because nobody likes seeing wolves trapped in chains. Turns out that wolf can tear holes between realms, wreaking havoc wherever it pleases. This is pure pandemonium and everyone is boned if we don't do something about it. Odin gave me a leave of absence. I returned to my home only to find it under siege thanks to a certain feral beast I just unleashed. This is disarray waiting to happen, and nothing else takes priority on the matter, especially not one of insignificant proportions. But more importantly, Boy has returned to the sidekick role and his power suddenly dropped to -9. The psycho, the pussy, and the severed head all chastised me for making such a decision, yet all of them walked away. Kratos is a Chad dad, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Chasing down Garm was no menial task. He's like 100 feet tall and on 4 legs. Wolves are fast enough when their height is around 3 feet, never mind 103 feet. And all throughout Helheim, enemies were scattered around virtually everywhere, and because Boy's power stat is -10, it took some patience to get to where we were going. We got there after an unspecified amount of time, and you see each of these little bars up here, there's 10 of them. Each one took well over a minute to deplete. Had I been controlling the other video game protagonists, the pain that I endured during this fight would have never existed. But what's a Deelwheels video without my pain? I know every one of you laugh at my misery, yet I continue making these things. After knocking him unconscious, I thought this fight was over with. You know that part where Thor said thinking is a problem? I'm starting to believe him now as Garm Part 2 presented itself and blocked our path. It was a quick fight, but no battle is truly won until 3 solid victories happen for one side. Round 3 Garm was a lot weaker than round 1 Garm. Here is a comparison to the different Garms. Through the power of black magic f***ery alone, Boy resurrected his good boy, that 100-foot monster became 100-foot Fenrir, and now we have a pet that absolutely towers over his doghouse. I don't even want to imagine the size of that thing. Back in Vanaheim, things were in ruin. Not only Freya's brother got captured, but the moon was gone. Yes, you heard that correctly. That big chunk of rock in the sky is just nowhere to be found. Our job is to find that chunk of rock and return it to Skull and Hati. Of course, more enemies wanted to kill themselves, so they found their way to me. Where I am, chances are Boy is there too. We were about to take the moon back, but an opposing NPC made a smart decision, took the cargo, and ran. It's smart because he's looking to accept the same fate as Grandma's cauldron did, and nothing gets my attention more than stealing the quest item. Even a wyvern got registered in our codex. I am quite proud of the handiwork here. The moon was back in the sky, and now that the wolves were satisfied, it was time to rescue a man whose leadership skills need a lot of work. Kratos betrayed me and sent Boy away on a pilgrimage again, and now I'm left with a third video game protagonist to join our party. If one can obtain XP in this game, they are as good as such. How far these two have come. Have I mentioned how this rendition of Heimdall is kind of a prick? It takes a lot to have an ego bigger than the mount he's sitting on, but good God, I think I might put this fool on top of the list of souls who desperately need their mouths stapled shut. This fight was one-on-one, no Boy, no replacement, just Chad versus Virgin. I won't spoil who won, but just know that it was a fight of moderately mediocre proportions. We found the captured brother, but more importantly, we got reunited with our son, so everything is back in balance. This battle felt like a gauntlet, especially against the ingrates who have a health bar on top of a health bar. I also upgraded Boy to have some black magic and unleashed ghost dogs to chew out the tongues of anybody trying to spoil puzzles for me. Atreus decided he wanted his fancy flying sword again, so a trip back to Asgard was in order. Odin was stubborn and kept me as his errand boy and ordered me to find Thor to be my partner. I may have said some things about his mother and he didn't take kindly to that, and well, the whole bar kind of went into a glorified meltdown. Not gonna lie, if there wasn't a bar fight in a game with the title of Ragnarok, I would have been severely disappointed. After explaining how he was a deadbeat dad, Thor finally agreed to journey with me to find the last piece. Other than a frost ancient whom was absolutely brutalized by the deadbeat of thunder, it was smooth sailing all the way through. Today I learned that Thor is a bona fide simp, as he threw everything we built together away. I mean, we had a hand in the death of both of his sons, but can't we just let bygones be bygones and move on from the past? According to him, I guess not.
I expect you to bite my blue butt cheek.
The next half hour consisted of story shenanigans that I'll let you figure out for yourself, but in short, we need a giant wall-crushing fire monster to destroy Asgard. Odin talked about Kratos' bad parenting skills, and this is the kind of revenge we must enact against him. Oh, and Ragnarok is coming, I guess. That's an important detail as well. I can admit when my intelligence levels aren't very high, and the Flame Phantom mid-level boss fight was one of those times. The answers were right in front of my face, and I just stood there like a moron wondering what the hell I should be doing. No, don't bother attacking the glowing purple pillars and the gold wall outlet over there. Comment Deelwheels is big dum-dum if you've made it this far. The giant fire monster we were looking for wasn't exactly a social butterfly and sent his pet golems against me. Papa Kratos eats bowls of nails for breakfast, bricks for lunch, a well-done steak for dinner, and strawberry cupcakes for dessert. He does not around. Unfortunately, it's not his spotlight yet, and Atreus is still a growing boy, so he needs his protein. I sure hope Soul's got good protein. I just need to point this out real quick. The supposed giant fire monster switched hearts, and I mean switched literal beating hearts with his lover. I think that single-handedly might be the most bizarre bit of information that I've perceived yet. And the sky around me at the moment somehow appeared thanks to walking through a cave for a measly 45 seconds, among about 1,000 other things that are kind of weird as well. To get Ragnarok, we had to stab his lover, so I didn't hesitate. Some Valkyries came in thanks to Odin not minding his own damn business and meddling in my affairs. They even had the audacity to cheat by requesting Mr. Allfather himself to heal them. As previously stated, no battle is truly won until 3 solid victories happen for one side. Considering Boy depleted all their health bars on his own, it's suffice to say that Atreus would be a very good gamer. He'd sit in his racer chair, drink his G Fuel, lose brain cells by the minute thanks to raging nerds on the internet, and still somehow have a six-pack when all is said and done. He'd be that guy. Getting out of Muspelheim proved more annoying than anything else, as the master of cosplay attempted to wear down our weapons so that they would be unusable during Ragnarok. If I could, I'd laugh in his face. My weapons are already useless, and the lad already stole Odin's favorite bow. The final battle has commenced, and everybody who's worth a damn is actually here. Even though the fate of the 9 realms is at stake, I still only had Boy actually doing damage. He could bring out his skills from virtually any time I personally control him. It would be appreciated, but disappointment follows me in the same way people follow really odd trends on TikTok. The journey to the wall was filled with much death via flying wooden stick, and the dwarven army we were promised were nowhere to be found, so Sindri is literally a one-man army. I told you, anybody who's worth a damn is actually here. When he's capable of obliterating war machines with a simple tap of a hammer and holding his own in the fight beyond that point, discovering that he can actually teleport kind of pales in comparison, and I will protect him at all costs, no matter if I'm bipedal or a brown bear. If I'm being honest, I would prefer it if Boy was a brown bear most of the time. At least then some of these longer battles wouldn't be a chore. Looking at you, 3-minute golem. Garm. I was back to being a solo act for one final battle. Thor was upset that my boy was hitting on his daughter, so he took out his frustrations on the closest object near him, that being me. I am better than Thor, and he knows it. Otherwise, I would have lost this fight, and nobody wants to see the penultimate battle result in failure. Odin was the big bad of Ragnarok, something that's been alluded to pretty much the entire game so far, so it's very satisfying watching Boy play target practice with Patchy the Pirate's one last eyeball. Would you believe me if I told you that Phase 1 Garm fight was somehow longer than Phase 1 Odin fight? Because that is a reality I just refuse to accept. I have upgraded my son to be even more badass in the time since, and it resulted taking more than 20 seconds longer than the aforementioned fight. Excuse me while I go wring my neck. No satisfying boss fight is ever completed in just one part, however. There's probably a few games out there that would dispute what I just said, but Odin is back for round round 2. With more black magic f***ery at his disposal, more health points appearing from seemingly nowhere, and a wild Freya finally managing to catch up and put this bastard in the ground for good. The bow's sonic arrows were now available to use for both companions, so I was able to deal double the damage, which is immensely required, as Odin found a diamond chestplate and boots to equip in his inventory. All he needs now is a helmet to hide that big ass forehead. Round 2 lasted approximately 14 minutes. Boy got a badass Superman punch on him. We shoved his soul into a marble. Sindri arrived, destroyed the marble, didn't elaborate, and left. And I did not beat God of War Ragnarok with only Boy. I tried though. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving it a like, or if you hated it, leave it a dislike. And if you haven't already and you like what you see on the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. Helps me out a ton. If you want to support me further, go ahead and check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Deelwheels and giving whatever you feel like. It helps fund these projects. Have a good one. Peace out.